Well, welcome everybody to the latest installment of MSP Business School. And this is a special one for us today. I have to say, happy anniversary, Tim and Rob.
Thank you. And to you as well.
Yeah, a whole
Even
year.
though this is our 50th episode, this is our year anniversary doing this show.
Nuts.
So, really
crazy.
excited that we hit that model.
Yeah.
I would say even with COVID, it went by pretty quick, didn't it, guys?
It did.
Not for me, Brian. That's the way anniversaries are, my friend.
Nope. Yeah. Once you get into that relationship, forget about it, right? As soon as it's commitment, it
Days
just
get
drags.
longer. Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. And, we're very excited today as we have a special guest joining us for this 50th episode. We have Zay Campozano from IT Help in New York City joining us today.
Yes.
And, Zay, we're excited to have you here and certainly learn a little bit more about IT Help, how you came into the market, right? Because we all got interesting backstories that brought us into this world. And, certainly want to understand how IT Help got started and, what you're doing today to move forward and what are some of the big things that really helped move your business and push the needle. So with that, I'll turn it to you, Zay. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. And congratulations on your 50th episode. It's a privilege and an honor to be here with you guys. And surprisingly, I had no idea it was your 50th. So congrats to you guys. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But sure. So how I got into the MSP business, it is a very long story, but I'll try to abbreviate it. So I come from an international business background. I started life as an international business major. One of the major markets I worked in was Latin America for a company that I'm sure you guys know, Minolta Corporation.
Heard of them?
And eventually,
Yeah. Some people have heard of them. Yeah.
turned into Konica Minolta.
Yep.
I was part of the consumer products division, again, managing sales and marketing for Latin America, service obviously as well. Long story short, we did a wonderful job. I got introduced to technology through that job. We were doing all kinds of things. We were doing, 35 millimeter cameras, but then we moved over to this wonderful technology that's now defunct called APS. I don't know if you guys remember that, because digital was just there at this point. So we started getting into digital cameras, scanners. If you guys remember back in the day, we used to have SCSI connections.
Yeah.
And then we moved over to Windows, to USB, but then Windows NT really didn't recognize USB. So my background in technology goes back to that. So I realized that I kind of enjoyed technology, and Minolta made some bad decisions. And of course, as you know it, Konica Minolta is now just business printers and whatnot. Consumer products are gone. Actually, Sony owns everything I used to sell and market. And what I decided to do is go back to school. So I went back to school, got my computer engineering degree. Then September 11th happened. I couldn't get a job. I graduated second in my class, and I couldn't get a job in New York City. It wasn't happening. I graduated 2 weeks after September 11th. So I moved to Las Vegas, and I worked in Las Vegas for 6 years for MGM Mirage in their IT department. And
Nice.
it was great. So I was a computer engineer. I did a lot of projects as well. And then I ended up as a software analyst. But a company out here in New York that was looking for somebody to do some business development reached out to me, and they said, "Hey, we'd like you to spearhead our voice over IP telephony product." And we also manage, technology for a lot of different companies, at the time, hedge funds. And they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And that's how I got into the MSP space. I moved out to New York in 2008. Of course, 2008, 2009 were not great years in general.
Interesting time to come, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So to say I got my feet really wet and really got down and dirty in the MSP IT telephony space, it was quite an education, to say the least. But that was my first experience. We deep dove in. Actually, we were successful. We were able to tread water, make a little profit for a couple of years, and then 2011, 2012, things got better. But again, working for other MSPs, I didn't necessarily like some of the things that were going on in the back end. So in about 5 years ago, Harry Goyle, who is the principal, I'm a minority partner of IT Help, we said, hey, we don't like the way MSPs are doing certain things. Let's try to do them a little bit differently. And that's how IT Help was born. The two of us got together. He was more of the technical side of things. I was more of the sales, but with an understanding of what the technical guys go through. So he appreciated the fact that I knew his job, and I appreciated the fact that he understood my job and allowed me to do it. So that's how IT Help was born.
Tell you what, that is a great story too, in terms of how to get started if you can, ideally with an MSP, when you can have two founders that have a clear line in the sand about their roles, but somebody is taking on that technical role and the other person taking on that business development role. It just helps foster growth early. I mean, the reality is the technical person can focus just on that, service delivery operations, and doing it. The salesperson puts on the hat they're supposed to wear and go out and do it. So kudos to you guys to finding each other and getting that started, because that's one of the biggest challenges out there I see with a lot of MSPs is a one-man band goes out and they've got to wear both suits. And one of those suits usually isn't as comfortable as the other one either, right? And that's definitely a challenge.
No, I mean, and to this day, it's funny, Harry will come across an opportunity and, he'll tell me immediately, Zay, these people know me and it's a referral, but I need you there, because he doesn't want to do the talking. He doesn't want to do the presenting. He just wants to talk tech, and we're okay with that. That's why it works.
Yeah, it's good partnership.
Yeah. For a lot of tech, engineers, they have a tough time actually putting value to themselves and value to the project. They feel squeamish about asking for money sometimes. So, I can see where it would be complimentary.
Yes.
It's also good that you had a little bit of a tech background too, so you can, even though you're sales led, I mean, having the ability to know, to hold that conversation, that's kind of worth its weight.
I will say this. I have the respect of the team. We have 20 engineers right now, and they all know that I've done their job. They all know I can no longer do their job. Technology changes and every year, and I haven't really had to touch much in 12. But I value what they do. I've been on those 72-hour deployments with no sleep. So I really value what techs do. It's not an easy job. Sometimes it can be a thankless job. But we make sure that as a company, we don't have any hard divisions in the company. I might want to add that, we are one company, and yes, we have a sales and a marketing and in a IT, in a technical department. But we all consider each other a team, and we all work together, and we all value the work that we do.
Very cool.
So Zay, one of the things that comes up a lot, especially now during all this COVID, this COVID times, is the culture inside of the company, especially when you're, that size, right? And you mentioned that you are one team. Can you give me an example of what do you guys do that, kind of make sure that culture is, being maintained?
Well, we've had to do a few things, quite a few things. I'm sure a lot of businesses have done some of the same, but one, being very flexible. For example, we have engineers that support us. And so those engineers, when they've needed time off or when they've needed to tend to family, guess what? Family comes first. So we want to make sure we didn't give them any additional stress. Take the time off you need. If you want to work from home, we'll make sure that you can securely work from home. But we've been very flexible with our employees. Also with our employees that support other MSPs, we've also been very transparent to our partners and saying, hey, we all know COVID's going on. And yes, we normally work in a secure facility, but due to quarantine or due to having to stay at home, we want to let you know that your engineers are going to be home. and they're going to be working from home for their peace of mind, for their family's peace of mind.
Yep.
But we want to give you guys the option. If you don't like that, hey, let us know. So that's taken the burden and the stress off of our engineers. Our partners have also been incredibly cooperative with us. And, as just simply as a management team, our whole thing is, hey, we're one big family. We can always communicate freely with each other. You never have to beat around the bush. Just let us know what's going on, and we'll do everything we can to accommodate. We appreciate our employees. They work really hard. So we want to be reasonable with them.
Yeah. Very
That's
good.
key. And that's key. Say, being based in New York City, I've got a question for you as we're coming and emerging out of, COVID times here.
Sure.
How hard has the city really been hit? We talk about places nationwide, but it seems like nowhere has been hit like the city, both coupled with mass exoduses of both companies and people, and what that's going to look like remaining. So how's that impacting your business, and what are your thoughts as a resident?
Sure. Well, so let's be 100% transparent here, as we like to be. I live in New Jersey, and most people that live in New Jersey, work
Commute
in the
in.
city. Commute in. Now we have some employees in the city, and my business partner lives in Jersey City, which is a path train away.
Yeah.
To answer your first question, how's it been impacted? There's been a great impact. I've seen a lot of people lose their jobs. We've had a lot of our own businesses. We work a lot in the food and beverage hospitality business. So, of course, initially for those first few months, it was really hard for them. They couldn't make ends meet. They asked us if we could tailor, our services back. And of course, we really could never tailor our services back to support them properly. But you know what? We could tailor our billing back. So that's what we did. We said, hey, don't worry about, let's work out the next few months. No big deal. We're going to give you the same support. Do whatever you do. So we'll help you tread water as best we can. Another one of our big accounts as well, Miss America Organization, which is a very big account of ours. They said, hey, obviously there's no beauty pageants going on, and and our representatives aren't really going out there. So same thing. We said, hey, let's work with each other. Let's make sure that you guys can stay afloat and we stay afloat. And we simply worked things out, but the city has been greatly affected. A lot of people have moved out of the city because one, they couldn't afford it. Two, they realized that if they were going to be working from home, they didn't want to be in a little apartment. They wanted to be in a bigger space. So, for example, areas where I live in, real estate wise, have boomed. But, the city, the market has fallen, drastically. Jobs have been reduced drastically. And do I think the city will come out of this? Absolutely.
Yeah.
New York's never going away. The landscape's going to change, and things are going to be different. I think a lot of companies will take advantage of having virtual offices, having a smaller office space, or simply, they're going to have offices, but they're not going to need 2, 3, 5,000 square feet. They might need half of that. So that's where I think the city's going to change. I think maybe there will be more businesses. It'll be a little bit more competitive because prices will have dropped. It'll allow for people to be able to get some space if they need it. But it will also allow some of these bigger businesses to have less space and then have their employees work from home. From our perspective, it's been a benefit because it has been a proof of concept to a lot of these businesses that we've been telling them for years, hey, your people can work from home, they can do it securely, and we can make sure that we can manage your thing, your environment proactively so that happens and that can be successful. So for us, it's been a great proof of concept. It's actually helped us to build up our business a little bit more throughout this year. And then, of course, with the remote staffing side, we've been able to build that as well because a lot of the MSPs that lost employees or had employees that simply didn't want to work turned to us and said, hey, can you help? And we were able to give them remote engineers at a very reasonable cost, but more importantly, guys that really know what they're doing and just building the relationship. So have things changed forever? Yes. But will they stay stagnant or, no, I don't think so.
How did you find the transition when when everything first happened with COVID, right? You look at a 20-person law firm. They had, they were one network before. Now they're 20 networks now because everybody's working from home. Like how did you deal with that from a security aspect? That's obviously been a huge focus of MSPs over the last year or 13 months at this point.
Sure. Well, initially I'd say for the first few months, it was simply scrambling to get people connected, right? Can my people work? We don't care how you get them connected. Just get them to work. So obviously it wasn't just their networks, we're talking about phone systems as well that we needed to kind of help. So, Harry, who unfortunately is not on this call, could probably talk to the technology side of it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But of course, we needed to set up, a lot of different security so that servers could be properly secured, but connected to, and be done to safely. Yeah. And it took a little while initially. Initially, some actually took a little while to react to. It wasn't immediate. People seemed to be in shock. So I would say a couple months after, maybe mid-April, early May of last year, some of the companies we were working said, hey, help us out. What are we doing? They finally returned our phone calls.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Isn't that the truth of it?
Yeah.
And so we started, setting them up, and we started configuring, and, we did a lot of at-home setups and got them working. And then for some, we simply had to wait it out. Restaurants weren't opening till June. June is when they first started opening and setting up shop outside because they were allowed to. And so it was a slow transition. Everybody was nervous, afraid. We just didn't know where things were going. We're going back to March of last year when it all kind of really hit the fan, right?
Right. It's amazing. It's how long it's been now.
Yeah.
So I want to transition a little bit, even though we've touched upon it kind of topically along the way. But, in our pre-interview, you mentioned that one of the biggest things that really helps shape your company as you're moving forward right now is that remote staff. Sure. And I think I saw that you guys are productizing it and actually making it something that other MSPs can leverage as well. So maybe talk a little bit about that and how that works for you.
Sure. Well, for us, it was simple. When we started the business, I don't know how about you guys, but when we started the business, funds were not quite there. So, we were just kind of
scrambling. All come from the bootstrapping background.
Yeah. We know that world.
But as you know, maybe you start out with 4 or 5 clients and you say, hey, we need to hire a good engineer. And, if you hire that one good engineer is pretty much going to take up most of the profit. If any, if he's a good engineer. So we said, okay, we really can't do that right now. So, Harry's our principal engineer. I am the, marketing, branding, and sales. What do we do to scale? So when we started bringing on new clients, you can't have one engineer stretched out between 6, 7, 8, 9 clients. It's not fair to the client. It's not fair to the business. So what we said is, why not build a solid team of engineers internationally that could support whatever team we build here. So my business partner, Harry, is from India. Mm-hmm. And basically what he did is he built a solid team of guys in Chandigarh, which is where our office is set up. And, to date, we have every single engineer that we hired then, and we simply have a lot more now. We were able to hire very good expertise for a lower cost. We paid them higher than market value, so they'd stay faithful to us, and we treated them really, really well. And that helped us to scale. So then when we were at, customer number 10, then we brought on a 3rd engineer. Then we were at customer number 15. We were able to bring on a 4th engineer. Mm-hmm. And basically every time we brought on anywhere from 3 to 5 customers, depending on the size of the customer, we'd bring on another engineer, and it would simply help us to scale properly. We were able to return a profit by year 2. And so to your point, Brian, by year 3, we said, man, we have a great team of guys we could leverage. We see a market out there. We see other companies doing this, but maybe they're not necessarily being as friendly in the MSP space as they could. Mm-hmm. So that's when we launched our product. We basically said, okay, if we're going to offer remote engineers to the MSP space, let's be very transparent how we're doing it. Let's give them a reasonable monthly cost, but let's give them the best engineers we can. Let's make sure that their English is absolutely perfect. Let's make sure that if they don't want to be transparent, because we offer, our services to MSPs across the country. Many of the MSPs obviously don't want to divulge that they're using remote staff.
Yeah.
Right.
But guess what? Once they realize the engineers are great, they say, wow, we don't care. The engineers are so good. Our people love it. Our customers love them. This is a great service.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we started doing. And 2 years ago, we said, hey, let's offer it and let's be friendly. Let's offer a 12-month term, but let's give, anybody that needs, let's give our MSPs a 30-day out. So for any reason, if you need to get out of contract, just give us 30 days, no penalties, no anything. We felt that was reasonable. Why? Because if you love our engineers, you're not going to want them to go away. But if you have an economic downturn, you shouldn't be penalized for that either. So, it's like, don't worry, guys, there's a 12-month term, but you can back out of it. Just give us 30 days notice. And it has happened once. We had a customer lose a huge client in Florida. And he said, Zay, when I get a new client back, can I have our engineer back? He really appreciated him. Every person we've placed hasn't gone away. They've stayed where they are. And anyway, when we started offering the remote staffing, we built it more as, hey, we want to build a relationship with our peers. So we want to make sure that whatever services we provide are going to be phenomenal, because once this pandemic is over, when we meet at an IT Nation or a DattoCon or wherever it is that we meet, we want you guys to come to us and say, oh man, we love you guys. Let's go have dinner. Let's go have a glass of wine or a beer, whatever, but let's hang out, because we appreciate what you do. And we appreciate what you've done, because, again, we offer our remote staffing in a very, very flexible way. We have a couple of customers just using our guys 16 hours a week because that's what they can afford. So it's all about being flexible. And then it's also all about providing engineers if we don't necessarily have them. I'll give you a scenario. A company asked for an e-clinical engineer about 2 years ago at the very, very last DattoCon that they had before the pandemic. And I don't know about you guys. I had never heard of the product. I'm like, what is e-clinical? I have no idea. So,
if you're not in healthcare, you don't know that one.
Yeah, I've got nothing on that one.
Exactly. So I said, hey, Rob, give me a few days. We sourced 3 different e-clinical engineers. The opportunity didn't happen because the client wasn't ready. But he was so impressed that we were able to source the right engineers for him. And now he's a customer of ours. So now he actually has a level 3 guy with him that doesn't need to know about eClinical, but he has a guy that's really solid and he's very happy. And again, we try to bend over backwards for our MSPs. And the most important thing for us is the relationship. And that's how we built remote staffing.
I think you hit the big things there. You got to be transparent with your partners so they know what's going on, and then let them make their choices how they want to represent it.
Yeah.
Everybody's got different feelings about the overseas outsourcing. I'm a big proponent personally. I've, a chunk of our development team obviously is overseas. So, I certainly understand that. I think the fact that you're using language as one of your criteria for the resources puts a little bit more ease to most people, because that's usually where they feel that, hey, if I've got to explain things 5 times, how's that impacting cost, right? So
for sure.
But there's a market for it.
Yeah. And you know what? We let our guy, we let all of our MSPs interview 2, 3, 4, however many engineers they want. We don't pigeonhole you and say, here's your guy. Because, again, I can think there's a really good candidate for you, but they might not be a culture fit. Only you as your business know what your culture fit is. Yeah. So again, we're very flexible like that. We don't pigeonhole anybody. You can interview as many people as you want, and that's how you hire with us.
Very interesting.
So with that, I know we're starting to get near the end of our time together. Tim, do you want to segue into the
Yeah. So we just have 5 quick questions. They're kind of the first thing. They're somewhat multiple choice with a little bit of thought, but not too much. So keep it easy.
All right.
First one is talk text, or Teams?
Teams.
Yeah. Okay. Music, movies, or TV?
Music.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's just
Amazing.
It's just
Yeah.
music. You can't live without it.
Yeah.
What age do you want to retire?
Today, 48. But no, in all serious, 55.
Yeah. Okay. Mac or Windows?
I have a love affair with both. I can't choose. Just so you know, I'm on an all-in-one HP right now. I have a Surface Pro that I work on, and I have multiple iPads and iPhones. I love the technology. They're all good. You know, they all have their pros and cons. I can't answer that one.
Yeah. All right. If there was anything you could do outside of the tech industry, what would it be?
If there's anything I could do outside of the tech industry, actually, I would have probably been a professional athlete, but I'm thinking you're asking me now at this age of 48 where no one's going to take me.
Well, now let's
That's
go
the
back a
prime.
little bit here. What do you mean? You were
What sport?
what sport?
Soccer. Yeah,
Okay.
I was a big soccer nut and hockey guy. But you know, I kind of had I pursued it, sure, I think I would have had some chances there, especially in soccer. But you know, I just kind of quit at 20 and moved on. But sports. I love sports.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Tim will take you on the ice still.
Yeah, I'm a hockey guy myself. I played in college
that.
and all that stuff. So.
Oh, who's your team?
I went to Plattsburgh State in very upstate New York, but I'm
Okay.
I'm a Sabres fan, good, bad, or indifferent.
A Sabres fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's,
Hey man,
that's a
I've
hard
been.
pill to swallow.
You know what? The 1994 chants for the Rangers are now taking over 1940. If you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting to be that long, is it not?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, both bleeding here. But yeah, you know what? Honestly, either sports or the music industry. There's a guy on YouTube. If you guys have ever seen him, his name is Rick Beato. He's a music producer. He's worked with a lot of guys like Peter Frampton. But anyway, he talks about what makes music great or what makes certain songs great. And man, if I could have the musical knowledge or be in that world, I would be thrilled to be going into work every day. It wouldn't be work.
Very cool.
Well, Zay, we really appreciate you joining us today. Just for anybody who's looking to get in touch with Zay, we will be including his LinkedIn profile with the podcast. Also, this episode will be on mspbusinessschool.com and anywhere you get your podcast. Zay, before we part ways here, you have any closing thoughts for us?
Just thank you very much for having me again. Congrats on the 50th.
Thank you.
Simply, look, a lot of people will say it. They'll just put it on their website, but we're a community. Everybody that's working in this space, we are a community. We are peers. We should be friendly towards each other. I cannot tell you how many MSPs I have built friendships with, where they haven't done any business with us. I'll just give you a very quick example.
Sure.
Somebody recently said, hey, you know what? Your service sounds great, but I'm kind of looking to retire. And so I said, well, are you looking to sell your business? And he said, yeah, or you maybe stay on for a couple of years. So I put him in touch with another MSP that does that, and very close friends. So just in closing, look, as MSPs, we're all one big family. We should be one big family. We should help each other out, and I'm here to help. And I'm happy to make connections, even if it doesn't bring business, because ultimately, we should help each other out.
Yeah. It is a tight-knit community for sure.
It's a very tight-knit community, and that's one of the best parts. It's why I think, the three of us, once we came out of the direct part of that community, it was like, how do we serve the community now, right?
Sure.
Totally agree.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Well, Zay, thank you so much for joining us today.
Brian, Robb, Tim, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks for
Take care,
coming on.
everybody.
All right.
right.
Take care.
Have a great day.